Hello, everybody. Today we have the 79th Youth Governor, Governor Carter, and he's going to sign our press proclamation. Nice to meet you.
Good evening, everybody, and hello, members of the press corps. It is my great honor to stand here before you all today to sign a proclamation. For those who don't know what a proclamation is, it's basically me, the governor, declaring something about a certain topic, or in this case, the press corps. And, I am doing this for a couple of reasons, so forgive me if I will be going around this as a very firm, very formal type of thing, as, per tradition and kind of like a memorial. So, for the first reason, whereas the Washington State YMCA Press Corps are usually overshadowed and sometimes unrecognized due to them working hard in another building or even at the bottom of the Capitol building, as seen right now. Whereas the press corps allow the YMCA legislative delegates to be informed on bills and give insight to the faces of the proponents and what they think and what they want from the outcome of their bill. Whereas for years, they have efficiently and very proudly produced the Capitol Chronicles as well as the formerly known Capitol Capers. Whereas the editor-in-chief is a solo role where they manage not only the press papers but also those who work under them, and as well as the reporters, interviewers, manage the work that the editor-in-chief cannot. Whereas Washington State is one of the only states to have done a press proclamation signing twice within 4 years. This second time being me, the 79th, and the other time being the 76th Youth Governor, Landon Holzer. Whereas 18 years ago, the 61st Youth Governor, Ashita, worked closely with the press, doing over 25 interviews within the span of the not 4 but 6-day session that it used to be, as well as being best friends with the editor-in-chief at the time. Whereas, even without speaking rights, the press still advocate for what they believe and write bills adding to the debate of the session. And whereas 75th and 76th YMCA editor-in-chief Anduan donated money to the press office, allowing the YMCA to keep the press conference running and allowing the press to be the amazing and wonderful corps that they are today. And finally, whereas life without the press, without the editor-in-chief, the reporters, the interviews, all of it, would be unfulfilling, empty, and straight up dark. Now, therefore, I, Hugh Russell Carter, 79th Youth Governor of Washington State, do hereby proclaim that the 30th of April to the 2nd of May be known as Press Corps Week. And I encourage all of you and all of the delegates and advisors of this legislation and further and future legislations decide to celebrate this amazing and historical event. I will now sign this proclamation to make it official and shake the hand of the editor-in-chief as per tradition. As of this day of May 1st, 2025, once again, the 30th of April to the 2nd of May shall be known as Press Corps Week. Thank you very much. You want to get a picture?
Alrighty. Now, as per tradition, the governor will be open to any questions that the reporters have.
Yes?
What is one thing that you have accomplished so far in the office that you would say you're proud of?
One thing I have accomplished so far in the office is, this was honestly on the first day. I was really, I didn't know if my speech was that good, but genuinely, a lot of people came up to me and told me that my speech was quite incredible, actually. And I think I accomplished making an impact on the delegates, and I didn't expect to do that so early. And so I just think doing that made me personally really happy. Being able to make an impact on, so many people all at once was, I think, very, very hopeful to me.
Thank you.
What inspired you to run for youth governor?
So originally, I told myself that I was just going to run for youth governor because my brother, Clyde Austin Carter III, he was youth governor as well, 77th youth governor. And I told myself, like, oh, it'd be funny if, there were two Governor Carters within like the span of like 2 years, right? But I think during my time as an MO as the 78th Secretary of State, it became more of less that I felt like I needed to, and it became more that I wanted to be able to make this session, the 79th youth session, to be like a really, really great session, because I know that if this session is great and wonderful and people really do think that the 80th session, a monumental year for Washington State YMCA Youth in Government, would be perfect. And I think that was a bigger part of what I wanted to do as youth governor.
Was there any like setbacks or like give up, like going towards youth government?
Yeah, a lot of the times. I remember when I first joined youth in government, I didn't necessarily like it as much as I love it now. I think there were a lot of times when I felt like I didn't want to be in youth in government anymore, but I think, like I said in my opening speech, I just, for some reason, it was a feeling I just couldn't describe, and a lot of people helped me overcome that, and I think knowing that I had so many friends, so many advisors, so many people there for me in youth in government, it really allowed me to push through it and want to be able to, stick by the idea of I want to be in youth in government and really, continue my passion for youth in government. And, I just want to quickly say that if, anyone that does feel that feeling, that undescribable feeling of just not wanting to do this or giving up, I want them to know that the fact that they are still here, the fact that they're even still having those thoughts, knowing that they've had it before, that shows that they can get through it, that they have gotten through it once, maybe even twice, or many more times, and that because of that, they can get through it again. And I want to be able, as youth governor, I want to be able to do anything in my power to give them that opportunity to get through it.
How do you feel about the candidates currently running for governor?
I am very, very proud of all of them. I think every single one of the candidates running for youth governor gave an incredible speech, and I have no doubt in my mind that whoever ends up winning the election for youth governor will be an amazing 80th session youth governor. And I think no matter whatever they decide to do, whatever, how they decide to run the 80th session, I genuinely believe with all of my heart that they will do an incredible job, and that session will still be a perfect and wonderful monumental year.
What advice do you have for the candidates?
For the candidates, some advice that I personally have is that whether you win or whether you lose, that doesn't, I guess, put a face on you. That doesn't count you as a failure. And necessarily winning the election doesn't necessarily count you as a winner. Like, yes, you won the election and you should be proud of that. But even if you didn't win the election, you should still be proud of yourself, that you put yourself out there, that you decided to run, because that truthfully takes guts. It takes strength, and it takes a lot of determination to get up and be able to speak in front of over 200 people. And I just have the utmost respect for people who can do that. And so the advice that I can give candidates, just don't let the loss stop you from being the amazing and wonderful person that you are. Because again, being youth governor truthfully is just a title. You are more than that. Just like how I am way more than just the youth governor, right? I have a name behind myself, I have a family, I have a background, I have history, stuff like that. And people like that do as well. And so I don't want them to think that just because they lost, that like defines them.
What do you see in the future of youth in government?
For the future of youth in government, I see a lot. Like, stepping back from Washington, right? You know, as youth governor, you get to go to this conference called GovCon, or the Governor's Conference, and you get to meet all of these amazing and wonderful youth governors from all over the United States. And, you know, there are some states that, you know, weren't there, like South Carolina wasn't there, North Carolina was there, but South Carolina wasn't there, Virginia wasn't there, Rhode Island was there, Hawaii wasn't there, and they're just getting their session started up. And so for the future of youth in government, like on a bigger YUSA scale, I see so many more programs starting up in Hawaii, Alaska, Idaho, Wisconsin, Massachusetts, so many of those programs growing and continuing. And I see the future of youth in government being very, very bright and just continuing to grow. And I know the history of youth in government. I can see history being made within at least the next decade or two. On a, you know, more local, closer scale, for this program, I see such amazing passion and such amazing people doing wonderful things, not letting this program just, you know, crumble to dust. If we need more people, there'll be more people. I mean, this is the first year that we have technically had 2 sessions. We have this one at the Capitol, and then we have another one for 8th graders and other middle schoolers, and sometimes even 9th graders, starting out, I think, last week in Tacoma. And so I couldn't be more proud of Washington State. Yes, we aren't the biggest, but I think out of all of them, I think we are the most prideful, personally. I think we have meaning to ourselves and really do care about this program. Not that other states don't, but in a way that the other states, you know, can look up to us. And I think, you know, that really does bring joy to my heart and makes me proud to be the youth governor of Washington State.
Fueled by passion, this year's theme, where did you get that from?
So, I got it from this quote that I found on TikTok. I said it in my opening statement, where, with the idea being that when you have that feeling of undescribable, you know, like that indescribable feeling where you just feel like you can't love certain things anymore. It's not that you don't love that activity anymore, you don't care. It's just that your passion for it is buried. And that quote really, really did mean a lot to me. The idea of fueled by passion just came from the fact that came from a time in my life where I was losing a lot of the passion for things I loved. I was struggling a lot with mental health issues. I was diagnosed with major depressive disorder. I was diagnosed with general anxiety, and I got put on 2 antidepressants and PTSD medication. And with that, I fell into a very, very dark place. And that quote really did lift me up. It made me realize that that just because I'm feeling this way doesn't mean that I have to let my passion for these things die. In fact, instead of doing that, I let my passion for these things, my love for this program, my advisors, all of my friends and the people I work with, I let all of that really fuel my passion and bring me out of, you know, that deep dark and despair. And again, as youth governor, I want to be able to encourage people to do the exact same if they're feeling that way.
What do you think your experience as youth governor has taught you?
My experience as youth governor has taught me a lot. It's taught me a lot of humility. It's taught me to be humble about a lot of things. It's taught me to love those around me, cherish the moments, even if those moments are small and not, you know, they're not long. Like for example, this session. Truthfully, this is our last night here. And for people who are seniors, this is your last youth and government night ever, unfortunately. And tomorrow is a short day. And like I learned a while ago in DC at the governor's conference, you need to cherish those moments. You need to be able to realize that even though it's a short amount of time, that doesn't mean that it's a waste of time or that it doesn't matter. In fact, if it's a short amount of time, it should matter more to you. You should want to be able to make more out of all of that. And just my experience as youth governor, it has taught me that yes, things end, but they don't end because they don't end just because they end. They end with that feeling because they were so important, because they were so special. Like, it's not, like, everything ends. Like, and we all know it. Everything comes to an end. But the fact that we have something like that to feel that way about is so incredibly special. And being youth governor has really taught me that a lot of things do matter. Small, big, medium, it doesn't matter. It matters a lot.
What would you say is the hardest part of your position?
The hardest part of my position is making decisions that I don't want to have to make. I am what's known as a people pleaser. I like making everyone happy. If I could take away everyone's sadness instantly with like the press of a button, even if it came at the expense of my own happiness, I would. And in some ways that can be healthy, in some ways that cannot be healthy. But the hardest part of my personal position is making decisions I don't want to, like vetoing bills. If I could make every bill work, make every bill possible, and make every bill the best, I would. But, you know, unfortunately that's not possible. And sometimes you have to make hard decisions about, you know, vetoing bills. And while I am getting better at the idea of that I'm not vetoing the person, I'm not saying that the person, you know, is bad or anything. It's just that sometimes, as human beings do, we disagree. We have different opinions, and that's okay. And so I think that is probably one of the hardest positions, the hardest things about being youth governor for me. It's making decisions that I don't usually want to have to make. And even though I don't want to have to make them, I do anyway, because that's part of, you know, being youth governor. It's part of being youth governor. It's part of being a leader. You know, sometimes you won't always be able to please everybody. You won't always be able to do things in a way that makes everyone happy. But letting them know that you're not doing it because you don't like them, and letting them know that it's nothing against them, is really, really important. It really is. Yep. The funnest part of my job, oh man, it's working with my cabinet. I mean, honestly, working with Axel on all of working with Axel on this was probably like one of my favorites. Like writing this proclamation and like designing the bill certificates and stuff like that. I think that's probably been like some of like my favorites. So like leading up to this moment, it's hard to say what was my favorite, but I think probably the press corps proclamation. And I know that might sound like a bit ironic, the fact that like I'm here saying this. I'm not just saying this because I'm, you know, like in front of a camera and in front of a bunch of press people, but it's generally just because, I mean, I've always really appreciated the press. I mean, I think if the lobbying corps didn't exist, I probably would have joined press. Yeah. I'll take one more question.
What do you hope people remember most about your time as youth governor?
I hope they I think what I hope they remember, right, is instead of remembering like me as youth governor, I want them to remember what their time as me being youth governor meant to them, right? What did this session mean to them? What did, you know, my speech mean to them? What did the bill getting signed mean to them? What did that mean to them? So I think it's less about me and more of like, what did it mean to them? You know, like what did it mean for them to be here instead? And I think that is something that I would really want people to, you know, remember about my time as youth governor. Yeah. One more time.
Like in your future, when you're in a first situation, how would you like work the
Say it one more time.
sorry. Like in the future, when you're youth governor, like more like for youth governor, and you have to face like hard decisions, how would you like go work this out?
Consult your cabinet. Consult everyone you can. If you have to make and I don't even think this just goes for youth governors. If you have to make a hard decision, like for instance, right, I was originally going to go to University of North Texas, right, for college, and then I ended up getting accepted into a private institution music school, and that was one of the hardest decisions I've ever had to make in my life. It was really hard. I was really, really upset, and I know that sounds really silly that I was upset. It's like, you got accepted into like the top 2 music schools. How can you possibly be upset? Because I didn't want to have to make that decision. It was a hard decision. It was a very, very real decision, because I think when making hard decisions, you're feeling that because it's a glimpse into your future, and you don't want to make the wrong decision. And I know that that can be hard, but my advice for people making hard decisions is consult everyone you can. Consult your friends, your family, your advisors, your teachers, your mentors, because that's exactly what I did, and I ended up making a choice, right? And with that, it shows that you don't have to do that alone. And I think that goes for a lot of things in life. You don't have to do it alone. Doing something alone is usually a choice. You don't have to do it alone. There will always be somebody there. There should always be somebody there to help you. Nobody should ever have to go through a hard decision alone. Nobody should ever have to go through anything that makes them uncomfortable or feel uneasy alone. But just know that the feeling of it being uneasy is normal, and it is what makes us human. And I think without it, it would be very, very hard to consider us, I think, intelligent. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm gonna frame it.
You should.